I'm Kim Strobel, and this is She Finds Joy. I've known what it's like to feel knocked down by life, my friend, questioning my worth and wrestling with fear and self-doubt. But what I've learned is that inside every adversity lies the seed of something greater. What grew from that struggle was a mission to help others rise, face the hard stuff, and step fully into their own version of greatness with joy and happiness leading the way. I'm a truth-telling, real-talk happiness coach who believes in giving you zero fluff, no BS advice, just the tools and mindset shifts that actually move the needle. Welcome to the space where small steps lead to big joy. Hello, my friends. I am here today. Yes, I'm like no makeup, headband, my favorite IU sweatshirt on, and I've been getting stuck on topics that I want to talk about. But my assistant Emma, who she and I voxer back and forth like almost every day, I find myself just riffing on topics to her super easily. And then I'm like, why don't I just jump on and do a podcast episode about this? And so this podcast episode is going to be about how our limiting beliefs, our scarcity mindset can sometimes get in our way and what that looks like when we're trying to kind of step into and own the highest potential that we have inside of us and why we get in our own darn way. And for me personally, I've been getting in my way with these podcast episodes for some reason. Now that we've started it back up, I'm like overthinking the topics. I'm thinking it needs to be perfect. I'm like, oh, it's on video. I need to do my makeup. I need to do my hair. And I realize that I'm just getting in my own way. Like, it's okay if this is on my YouTube channel and I'm here in no makeup with my hair in a headband and my favorite IU sweatshirt. Like, I don't have to have everything perfect in order to take action. And I feel like so much of the time, that is what gets in our way. I actually have this quote I say that says, perfection is the lowest standard you can hold yourself to. And perfection is the very thing that will get in your way over and over and over again. And it's debilitating and it makes you not take action in your life. For example, when I first got hired as a motivational speaker, when I slapped motivational speaker on my website in 2018, never having stepped on a stage and given a keynote, I just thought, you know what? I've been like positively influencing people and talking to them for years about self-help, personal development, all the books that I've been reading. I am a motivational speaker. Yeah, it might be to the person in line at Walmart that I'm lifting up, but like I'm going to slap this on my website. And then I may have told you in a previous episode, my son and I were skiing on spring break in Colorado, and halfway down the mountain, because you know the mountains are really long, I was like, oh, let me take a break. I got my phone out. I opened my email and I had my first gig for a keynote with Lafayette Community Schools. That's the city that has Purdue University here in Indiana. And they wanted me to keynote for 900 people. And I was so excited. I couldn't believe that I got my first hit. But I remember the day of the event sitting in the front row, kind of outside of my body, listening to this person introduce me as this keynote speaker and feeling really nervous for the 30 or 60 minutes before, thinking, I have never done this. Like, I'm a farce. I'm a phony. They're introducing me as a keynote speaker, and this is my very first time ever doing it. But thank goodness, folks. I think it's because I have an intimate relationship with fear because I suffered from a debilitating anxiety disorder called panic disorder for years of my life that stole a lot of things from me. I know how to walk through fear. And thankfully, I took a chance on myself knowing that it's not going to be perfect, that it's not going to be stellar. And had I not done that, had I not said, yes, I'm a motivational speaker. Yes, I will speak to your 900 people, knowing it's not going to be the best I've ever done because I've never done it before. If I would have never done that, folks, I would not be here in 2025 speaking to the FBI, speaking to Google, speaking to banks, speaking to back to school events. I wouldn't be going to Coronado Island there right next to San Diego and staying at a beautiful resort in June and speaking. And then 2 weeks later, going to Glacier National Park and giving a speaking event. All because I let my perfectionism take a step back, take a back seat, And I allowed myself to just take action. And so, as I was talking to my assistant Emma today, we were talking about how we sometimes limit ourselves or how we sometimes we get into what's called scarcity mindset. And so scarcity mindset is when there's a lack. Like, for example, the way that it kind of shows up in my life is um, every year things get a little bit slower from September, honestly, September till May. It's just slower. In June, July, and August, I might be taking 21 flights in 1 month. But those other months, it might be one, two, three, or four gigs, might be one gig, might be no gigs. And it's a slower time in my business. And so every year I get like scarcity mindset where I am thinking, oh my gosh, is the business going downhill? Like, am I not going to survive? Am I going to be able to pay the bills, the people on my team, this beast of a business that I've built that takes all these people and all these tech tools to run? Am I going to be able to pay the bills? Is money going to come in? Are we sinking? How are we going to survive? And I go into like this scarcity mindset. And what I learn is I have to coach myself through that mindset. And so this year, I was wallowing for a little bit, feeling kind of depressed about it, thinking, is it going to take off? Is it going to pick up again? And folks, this is all with me having notes from the year before on those calendar months that say, Kim, do not worry. It is always slow this year. It always picks up, and I still get super nervous. And so this year, what I noticed is I allowed myself to feel those feelings of scarcity, and then I started to take creative action. I was like, well, we're just going to go back to prospecting. I'm going to find my old prospecting list. I'm going to go back to people that I spoke to 3, 4, 5, and 6 years ago. I'm going to start emailing them, telling them about my new topics. And I got creative with my team. We started to run Google ads. We started to work on our website copy. We started to take action creatively, and I started to bring really positive energy to the business, even though those months we weren't flourishing yet. But what it caused me to do is to like go back in hustle mode, and it caused me to get creative rather than just getting stuck and frozen and just playing victim and saying, this is just how it is and it's not going to get better and I don't know if we're going to survive. It really caused me to like dig deep, right? And to go back to my tools of widening and expanding what is possible. And what we ended up doing is we ended up redoing the kimstrobel.com website. Hi, friends. This is Kim Strobel, and I'm interrupting your podcast with this quick announcement. I've been getting several requests every week from healthcare organizations, prisons, the FBI, banks, healthcare institutions, and of course, schools and school conferences about keynoting for them. And I think the reason for this is many of us feel like we are victims to our lives, the overwhelming stress, the life circumstances that can take us away from being the best version of ourselves in every area of our lives. And I think that's why I'm getting called to speak at all of these various organizations, because we know that when we learn to prioritize our health and happiness, we move the needle in every area of our life. We are able to show up and productively be better in our jobs. We are able to show up as mothers, fathers, friends. Our health and fitness journey begins to look differently when we actually learn how to prioritize our happiness and well-being, when we can get those outer results. And so if you're interested in having me come do a keynote, if you're a business or organization, you can reach out to kimstrobel.com. And if you're a school or a school conference, you can reach out at strobeleducation.com. And I would love for you to pass my name to whoever is in charge of bringing speakers to your place, because I promise you what you will learn, and what I know for sure is that when we learn to prioritize our happiness and well-being, we elevate every single area of our lives. That is the website for women's conferences, for corporate entities. And then strobeleducation.com is the website for education conferences and schools and professional development for teachers. And so what I did the last 3 months is start to work with the team and get kimstrobel.com ready to go because I was like, look, I want to make a bigger impact in the corporate space and I think I'm good at it. And so now here I am and it's getting ready to launch. I'm recording this April 2nd. You guys might be listening to it in June, but it's getting ready to launch. And thank goodness it is because, I'm really wanting to direct some energy in that space as well. And so I was talking to my assistant, Emma, today, and she was also saying that she kind of went into like scarcity mindset. And she doesn't want to go into it so far that it's limiting her ability to attract abundance in her life. But I was also saying, like because we had to drop Emma's hours, I had to have a hard conversation that I was, really kind of scared to have with her in November and say, look, things are really slow and I got to take your hours back starting January 1st. And I knew I was scared of what that would do to her family. And I'm not her only source of income, but what it caused Emma to do is exactly what it caused Kim Strobel to do. Emma decided, hey, I'm going to have to start hustling. I got to have more than just one client. I can't just depend on one client. I got to have multiple clients. And then we talked about how she could scale her business, how she could create her own business where people come to her for everything, for graphic design, for website help, for online business manager, for virtual assistant, for video editing, and how she could create a team of people who work for her and she could have her own agency and begin to expand. And guess what, folks? She did it. And I think that one of the catalysts of her doing that is Kim Strobel basically saying, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to take a portion of your income and your hours for my business away. And it made Emma dig deep and start hustling. And then she turned that into creative energy and she went after it. And so all of this just to say is that sometimes I think, one, we let perfectionism get in our way. We let it not being perfect prevent us from taking action. And it keeps you stuck for a long time. We need to feel the fear, feel the inadequacy, feel the self-doubt, and take the next step anyway, because you have to begin somewhere. That is how you grow. That is how you get better. And that is how you get to the gems of the goodness of your life. Secondly, we got to watch when we get in our own way, when we get stuck in that scarcity mindset, and the tools that we can use to dig deep to actually use that creative energy to start producing something better. Those are what I want you to walk away with today. This is fast. I know I just jumped in here and did it, but I want to know, tell me on Instagram, share this episode with your friends, tag me in it, and let me know, what did you most need to hear today? And thank you all so much for being here. I am rooting for you the whole way. Thank you so much for joining me on the She Finds Joy show today. I'm truly honored that you chose to spend your time here with me, my dear friend. If this episode brought you encouragement or a fresh perspective, I would be so grateful if you took a moment to leave a review. Just head to kimstrobel.com/review. And what it does is it helps more people find these important conversations. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. Thank you again for listening in. I am so very grateful, my friend, to walk this journey with you. I also want to encourage you to share this episode with everybody in your life you care about. We all need encouragement and real talk. Thank you for listening and watching. I believe in you for being able to create a life that feels good from the inside out. Remember, you are deserving of joy and happiness.